Alrighty, so a customer brought in this Bilt TB516 EC. It's a edger, so when you cut your lawn, you can pull this thing up right next to the sidewalk, curb, whatever you're really gonna edge, and then you fire it up, and this blade pretty much spins around, and it edges out all of the weeds that have overgrown onto your curb or sidewalk or whatever. He brought this edger in stating no start. He brought 4 machines in. He brought this, a chainsaw which is running already, which I cleaned the carburetor yesterday. He brought in this lawnmower right here, this push mower. It's got a pretty nice engine on it, Kawasaki. And then he also brought in a pole saw, which didn't have much life left, so we decided that we're not going to fix it. But we're going to go ahead and start fixing this today. It doesn't look very old. It looks pretty new. And it's pretty nice too. The blade's pretty sharp, but the engine, like I said, it doesn't run. He wants to get it running. So I think what we're going to start off with is, it should have sparks. So we're going to go ahead and remove this air filter cover. We'll spray a little bit of starting fluid down the carburetor throat, and then if it fires off, then we'll go ahead and remove this carburetor. We'll go through it, maybe even rebuild it. We'll see how bad the diaphragm and stuff is in there, but we're going to install a new primer. Then we're going to go through the fuel lines, probably put a new fuel filter on it. The fuel lines don't look very old, as you guys can tell. Probably just needs a new fuel filter and a carb rebuild, and it should be running by the end of the day, hopefully. So let's go ahead and get started then. Alrighty, so first off, we got this air filter cover, which just has a screw on it. Alright, air filter doesn't look too bad, could be replaced. Go ahead and put it right there. As you guys can see, you got this little thing back here which you got to remove. You don't have to, but you can. And then there is your carburetor. So you're gonna go ahead and squirt some starting fluid in there, and if it fires off, it's gonna be dirty carb, or it just needs to rebuild, or it could be like a dirty fuel filter or something like that. We're gonna go ahead and go through the whole thing though. He wants to get it tuned up and ready for the summer. So yeah. Alright, so we got ourselves some starting fluid right here. I'm gonna go ahead and squirt some. Alrighty, now we're gonna pull this thing over and hopefully it should start. Hopefully you guys can see it. Yes, you can. Alrighty, runs and dies. So it ran and then died, so most likely it can be 2 things. The owner most likely left old gas in it over the winter. That gas stayed inside this carburetor. It just dried up these diaphragms and stuff in there, or it's just the carburetor has some junk in it and needs to be cleaned out. But like I said, we're gonna go ahead and take it apart and go through it to make sure that it's savable. If not, maybe we have to get a new one for it, but maybe we can just clean this out and it should hopefully run by the end of the day. So we're gonna go ahead and pull it up to the workbench and we'll get started. Alrighty, so we got it up onto the workbench, and I'm going to explain to you guys how to remove this carburetor real quick. I'm going to remove it off camera, but I'm just going to explain to you guys how to do it. So in here, you got 2 T25 screws going all the way through into the engine, or you can use a flathead as well, but I would recommend using a T25 Torx. That way you don't strip out those screws. You're going to remove those 2, pull them out, and then from there, you got your 2 fuel lines down here. You're going to go ahead and disconnect these. Make sure you don't mix them up. Alrighty, so we got the carburetor off right here, and I'm going to show you guys how to take it apart real quick. As you guys can see, I already got it apart, but you got these 4 screws holding on this metal bracket that holds on the primer bulb as well. So you got those 4 screws. Those 4 screws go through this plastic piece, and then those go into this one, which this one has the diaphragm right here, and then this is the fuel pump side right here. So this side is what pumps your fuel. As you guys can see, there's these little blue tabs right there, and that hole, and then that hole. Those open up and they pump fuel basically. And then like I said, you just got your diaphragm on the other side right there. So you got this, and then this goes onto there, and then this goes onto there, and then that just screws on right onto the carburetor right here in those 4 screws. This fuel pump side looks pretty good. Those plastics don't look very old, as well as the gasket right there. But I am going to go ahead and replace the diaphragm. You can always just order a kit for it. Or you can just go ahead and order a new carburetor. What I normally do is I just get new carburetors for them. But in this case, I already have rebuild kits in my shop. So I'm going to go ahead and put a new diaphragm in it. The gasket looks fine, but we're just going to put a new diaphragm in it. put a new primer bulb on it. Hopefully we don't need to put new fuel lines on it. I mean, they don't look very old. I already squished them and they didn't crack or anything, so they're not very old. There's also this little spring right there, which goes into that little circle, and then you just screw that on right there. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get this rebuilt off camera. Once we get it all put back together, we'll go ahead and put a new fuel filter on it because like I said, the lines don't look very old, and hopefully it'll fire right up. Alrighty, so we got the new carburetor all put together. I already primed it a couple of times. I haven't tried starting it yet, so as you can see, we're getting good fuel in there. This is a 4-stroke, so you don't have to mix gas for it. You just put straight unleaded gas into it, and then obviously you got your oil plug right here. I got a new oil filter right here. I mean, a new air filter. Luckily, I have a lot of air filters since I work on a lot of these. All right, and then now we're gonna go ahead and put this cover on. Come on. Try again. She runs pretty good, so it just needed a little bit of help with some starting fluid. It ran pretty good. We went ahead and put a new diaphragm in it and a new primer on it, new primer bulb, and it runs pretty good. So all it needs now is an oil change. I don't have any oil right now. I have to go pick some up later today, but it runs now. That's a good thing. Hope you guys like this video. Like I said, this is a Bilt TB516 EC. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the title of the video as well. So yeah, I hope you guys like this video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.